Newcastle look to be in the market for Ekitike. Now, we had a good old discussion a few weeks ago on this show about how he's got a future potentially at Premier League level, but is it Stuttgart, right?
Frankfurt.
No, Frankfurt, sorry. Yeah. Frankfurt have got this sort of approach that they'll keep him for another year because he'll be a better player in a year, and then bids will come into their sort of level. Someone buying him this year, Chris, when he might be a year undercooked, they'll take the bid. They will, because that's the kind of the way they're set up as a football club. But yeah, it does. Just about earlier, it kind of add to this whole merry-go-round thing. Yeah, because it takes another option off the table if Newcastle do pull on that thread. But if they buy Ekitike, does it potentially open the door for Isak to be extracted towards Liverpool?
I don't know what's better or worse for Liverpool in this situation, because I think on the surface of it, I'm looking and going, well, if they buy Ekitike, that means that Isak's definitely up for sale, because there's no way Ekitike goes there just to sit behind him when he's playing first team football in Germany right now. But then there's a part of me that goes, who owns Newcastle? Okay, well, they could just sit on them both, couldn't they, the little bastards? And that's just mean, isn't it? You know what I mean? And then you're taking two players off the board. It feels like gamesmanship, it does. You mentioned it on the podcast earlier from Newcastle's point of view. It's like, well, listen, we're going to be interested in Ekitike, so you need to shit or get off the pot in terms of one or the other. You need to either buy Isak and spend 200 million quid or whatever, or you need to go and get Ekitike.
It feels like, from that, just talking it out, Dan, if it could be a thing of like going to Liverpool, well, this is your chance. If you're saying, if it's to be understood that Isak's your number one target and Ekitike's your number two target, well, we're about to take your second choice target off the board and we already own your number one target. So that maybe they're hoping to prod Liverpool towards buying Ekitike, because if Liverpool buy Ekitike, then they're not in the market for Isak this summer.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? And it would be actually quite a smart play from Newcastle if indeed that was the case. Liverpool aren't accustomed or likely to sort of fall foul to anybody else playing a very Liverpool game, but in this instance we might just have to, because if they are indeed the two players, and I would suggest they might be, out of the others I can't really see anybody else. There's no name jumping off the page to me. Ekitike felt like the most viable option if it wasn't going to be Isak. All of a sudden Newcastle hold lots of cards when it comes to both of them. We might have to act fast, because to Chris's point, whilst you need backup in every single position, you can't have £80 million backup.
Yeah.
Hugo Ekitike, 22 years of age, World Cup year, once sort of forced away into the fans' reckoning, playing week in, week out in Germany, just got Champions League football. Like, that doesn't understudy Alexander Isak, that footballer. No way in hell. You can't go from a barely fit Callum Wilson playing every now and then to Hugo Ekitike, one of the hottest properties in the striker market right now, just to be an understudy. So, yeah, it's
sorry to interrupt. It's moved on quite a lot, because they were looking at the Everton Calvert-Lewin a week ago, weren't they?
Well, that's the thing.
And I was thinking,
Pedro was the other one.
I was looking at that going, you've just got rid of someone who's dead injury.
Yeah,
Why are you getting him in?
But even João Pedro was similar to Hugo Ekitike, maybe 20 or 30 million pounds less, so it feels like less of a wow. And also João Pedro can play deeper and different roles, whereas Ekitike can't. I've seen Newcastle fans trying to convince themselves that he can play a 10. No. He just doesn't. That's not a thing. He's a centre forward. He's a number 9. So are you going to go, look, we've got two of the best strikers in Europe right now? Or are they saying this is not going to happen?
They're looking at it from a pure squad building thing. If you're trying to make a better fist of it this time, Champions League than last time around, then you need to have a better, deeper squad, and then upgrade. Callum Wilson his injuries made him a good squad option, because he was a good centre forward on his days, an England calibre, international. So they are doing this. That's a real show of intent. And if we were doing something like this, we'd be saying that's great squad building, but is it disrespectful from us to go, that's not possible?
It's too big a show of intent. Yeah. I think it's too big. And if we were doing this, I'd say it's too big. If we were signing an £80 million footballer to come in and play backup to Virgil van Dijk, for example, I'd say that's too big. It doesn't make any sense, because you can't keep them happy.
We've just kind of done that in a roundabout way with Darwin Núñez, albeit that wasn't the intention.
But that wasn't the intention. Yeah. You know what I mean? We just saw that happen because of circumstance and performances, ultimately. Whereas if you start the season, it's all well and good saying they can chop and change, they'll get half an hour. Isak's going to be your main man. He just is. It's as simple as that. Let's live in a world where they do sign two of them, and they have got both. Sorry, they've signed Ekitike and they keep Isak. Like 9 times out of 10, he's going to start games. Ekitike's not going to be comfortable playing 10, 15 minutes here and there at the end of a game. It's just not going to happen.
He's not going to reach his potential doing that.
No.
It is interesting though. I mean, we said this when Newcastle looked quite far along with the João Pedro stuff. That was a bit of like, maybe this is another one of those things. Newcastle, it would be smart if they were going down the path of being accepting of losing Alexander Isak. This is what that would look like. They are all of a sudden in this market. The same, Chelsea have been in it, Manchester United and Arsenal look like they're just about to come to an end of it. Newcastle would have to enter this market, so actually doing themselves a favour and getting that box now would be a very sensible thing, because they don't want to enter a world where, to the point, they've already lost out on João Pedro because Chelsea made that move. That would happen again potentially if other clubs were sniffing around players.
What about if they weren't willing to let Isak go this season, but next summer, and they're bringing in Ekitike to kind of learn from him for in a year's time to let him go? Because
but then aren't they signing Isak down to a new contract?
Well, that's the talk.
That's the talk.
Yeah, so I mean, it works in theory, but if they do tie Isak down, is Ekitike going to be wanting to sit there?
That still remains a problem, and also are Liverpool comfortable with that? Liverpool okay to wait a year? I'm not sure we are.
And you end up in that
we might not
John
be able to
Durant
pay
situation, don't you, at Villa, where you're behind the main man, the one who's there, and what's that doing for your career? Ultimately ended up in Turkey, I think was the answer to that one.